worries. So yesterday we uploaded accounting journals through EIB. But what we did, we just downloaded given template, standard template, fill the data and upload it. Now situation comes, we have to fill even the work tags. Yesterday we did not provide any work tag in our Excel file. But if there is a custom validation or in case there is a required work tag over accounting journal, then how we will provide those work tags through a EIB, how we will upload that. So we have an option, we can modify those fields for EIB template. After that modification, we will download the Excel file and will upload the data again. How we will do that? Let's say I'm searching for my EIB. Okay. Now using related action, go to template model and click on the view. Once you will click on view, it will show all fields which are coming in a Excel file. Import accounting journal. Yesterday even I showed this. Okay, guys. Then journal entry line replacement data. Click on line replacement data because we need to update those field which we have to fill for work tax. And if you remember, we fill work tax on journal line data, not on the just a accounting journal. We provide work tax on the line data. Click on all. Now scroll and check if we have work tag field or not. So I'm just scrolling down this. We have something related to work tag. Okay. Click on edit template model area. Scroll again, scroll down. Just give me a second. We were on work tags. Coming to line replacement. Okay. Again, coming to work tag. And instead of edit template, okay, instead of edit the whole template, just use related action of this magnifying glass just in front of work text. Use this related action, go to the template model column and edit details. Now it will show which work tag we are going to use, or if we need to change this work tag. I can see academic level ID. One work tag is already defined. So what I do, I'll remove this work tag from here and from here as well. Because why? Because whatever we will put in allowed, only that will be coming right here. So I'm removing this one. Let's say we have spend category ID. Instead of reference ID, what we will do? Spend category ID. So in work tag column, we can put spend category ID. What we did, we went to work tag field. Work tag field is labeled with work tags plus. Now there was a reference ID of academics. I do not want any work tag from academics. So what I did, I removed the existing work tag ID and provided a new one, spend category ID. I remember I have some custom validations where spend category ID was being used. So I put spend category ID in template model. Now I'll hit OK, done, and again go to your EIB. Again download the new template, generate spreadsheet template through the related action and template model, confirm, and wait for the new Excel file. Yesterday, what we uploaded, that file we have here. Just check what value was present yesterday in work tag. So there was optional balancing work tags. That field was yesterday, and the value it was asking was academic level ID. This is a spreadsheet we downloaded yesterday. So academic level ID is there in work tag, and one more is there, which is journal source. Sorry, journal source we already provided. Business unit ID. Oh, business unit ID is there. Need to check whether yesterday somebody changed this, but we had academic level ID. Now, what changes come today? Download the new template, open this. Still the previous one is coming. Okay. Okay, we got the new one. Now search out for Worktex plus. Okay, so here's the field. Now search out for Worktex, and for Worktex we are getting spend category ID. Guys, can you see this? We have now spend category ID in Worktex because we changed this ID using the template model and modification in that. Now again fill the data like we did yesterday. Everything we will fill in this Excel file, and here we will provide spend category ID as well. Spend category ID we will fill, and that work tag will be coming on that journal line. So I'm not filling this right away. I'll move to a supplier, but you guys please complete this, and then if you see any issue, let me know. If you feel any data is missing after even after creation of journal, let me know, like worktex are not going or something, we can check this later. I'm just leaving this for you guys so you can complete it. Okay, till here any question guys, anyone, anything? No question. So I'm starting proxy with Teresa. So we will start supplier now. What is supplier and why we need supplier in Workday Financials? So whenever a company, let's assume we have a company, but we need multiple items, goods and services to purchase, even to run our business. Goods like we need furniture, we might need transportation vehicles. We are running business, we need these kind of goods. For that, what we do might be we will hire or we will get that transportation on rent. If we are getting that on rent, then it is a service. We have to pay just for a service like monthly or weekly. We got the subscription, we will pay for that. If we are purchasing car or something as vehicle for company, we are owning that, then we are purchasing a good. Furniture, we are purchasing good for our business. In the similar way, in Workday Financial, whenever a client is purchasing goods or services through any vendor, obviously these items will be coming from any supplier, from a vendor. So they will first create supplier within Workday because they are going to purchase something through those suppliers or through those vendors. Now we got to know this is supplier and why we need a supplier, because we have to purchase goods or services. But why we are creating this in Workday? Now question comes, why we are creating this? So think on a management perspective, when you are purchasing something, the management will ask for all the reports transaction reports, audit reports, and any financial condition is there, if any, uh, what kind of expense was done, how much expense was done, everything related to the transaction management will need. So for creating these reports, we should have the data within the Workday itself. Now, accountant or financial persons will create supplier categories within Workday, and after that, the transaction will begin. But before creating a supplier, let's say we have thousands of suppliers, but we want some kind of grouping on that. Sometimes condition comes, just ask for quotation from multiple vendors for the same thing. It happens. Why? Who is giving on what rate? How we will compare? And from, like, who is giving the same thing on the lowest rate? A kind of bidding system is there. Who is giving at the lowest rate? We will occupy items or goods from that supplier. We'll identify that quality is same or the item is same, but who is providing at the lowest bid, he'll be eligible, or we will purchase from that. But we have to put multiple suppliers. Okay, we are putting multiple suppliers. But now let's say, or second scenario, at the first year we purchased furniture from one vendor. Next year we purchased that furniture, some other furniture from any other vendor. We are purchasing furniture, but we have two vendors. Now, if we have multiple vendors for similar thing, how we will group these vendors? So we will create a supplier category. So supplier category is nothing. Supplier category is a logical grouping of uh, logical grouping where we can put the supplier and vendors according to their goods and services. One more scenario, we are purchasing furniture in Delhi. Obviously, we have a different vendor. We are purchasing the same thing in New York. We have a different vendor. But at both locations, we are purchasing furniture. So our category is same. We are grouping these vendors in some logical or based on their goods and services type. We have supplier. Now above supplier, we have supplier category. So later we can create reporting on category. Even we can choose supplier based on and search supplier based on their activity. One more grouping way is provided by Workday is supplier group. Again, we can create a group in which we can put those suppliers. Might be based out their names. Supplier name is coming in between A to M, or their name is coming in between uh, N to Z. That kind of group we can create. But we have a supplier category, then why we need supplier group? That question comes. So let me show you why we need a supplier group. Supplier category is one-to-one relationship. Like one supplier will be having only one supplier category. But supplier group, it is again a logical grouping, but a person, the supplier, can be a part of multiple groups. How we will define that? Because let's say A to M and N to Z, that is coming just based on the name or starting name character. But we can also group that supplier based out location. This supplier or these suppliers are in uh, Delhi location, or these suppliers are in New York location. That kind of grouping we can do, and that is not just related to a furniture category. This is nowhere related to the supplier category. It is a different parameters. It is a different logical grouping we will make for suppliers. For example, you can say supplier category is just a single selectable item. We can select only single one. But when we come to supplier group, it is not mandatory. Supplier category is mandatory, but supplier group is not mandatory. But we can choose multiple. We can choose like it is coming A to L. We can choose even it is like evaluate receipt settlement. But if it we can have other options as well. We can create one more group, and that group would be suppliers in Delhi, suppliers in New York, suppliers in India, or suppliers in US. That kind of grouping we can also do here.
So any
And
kind of
these are,
group can be done, right?
yeah.
Uh,
So
There are
while
multiple suppliers for different product, so we can group
for
by product
different
wise
product
also.
category, right? You got it right. So one report we can create like we need how many suppliers are there for information technology. That's okay. We can just create a report based on the supplier category. But now question comes, how many suppliers are there in India? We do not have a supplier category in India, but we want to make some group based out that India. So what we will do, we have a supplier group based out country, and we will create a report on that group. Okay, who can create the
If
supplier
we have not
in
created any specific group and there's requirement from the management for some report, so we can make a filter, na?
we can make that, but even the best is create the grouping. It is optional. You can do like just get the
Management
field.
wants a group. Just an
How
example.
how you will
In
do that? You need to do first. You need to do create a custom report. Within custom report, you will fetch the field, the data from their address, country from their address. So there is multiple steps to get those suppliers from a country. Here, when you will search, it will ask for grouping. Just put that group and search for that. Let me give you. Let's say find suppliers. I'll put a supplier group. Click OK. So I got a list of supplier groups. Sorry, suppliers within this group. But in case, instead of putting the group here, if we are going, let's say I'll first grab the country from address field of that supplier. I need to create a custom report. Then I'll be putting a filter. A lot of efforts are there, but we have we have a direct report provided by Workday where we can just put this filter. Is it clear? Any question, guys, here? Okay. So, in Workday, finance administrator, finance admin, that will create these suppliers. So, as we discussed earlier, who is account payable specialist? What is the role of account payable specialist or account entry or something? So, all those roles will be coming now. Now, please check out who is doing what in starting of each activity. A role is defined that this person is going to do this activity. Like finance admin will create a supplier. Account payable specialist will do one task related to supply invoice or entering the data. But here you will identify which role is being used for what kind of purpose, and you can assume, and for your interview perspective as well, you can check out what data access that account payable specialist has, why a company need this account payable specialist. So obviously, supplier management on a business perspective or on a business level is a huge task. So that's why even for the workday, client needs to hire a person to manage their complete supplier management. So not only the supplier, just to create a supplier, but suppliers, creation of uh, how they do or what is their procurement process, how they pay the data, what is their business process, how many approvals are there. So all this will be combined in a procurement and supplier management, and that idea should, that person who is going to be hired, that person should have idea about how a workday business process to be set up for supply invoices. How, so obviously at the time of interview they can ask, do you know how a business process run for supply invoice? Do you know how to create a supplier? Why they need what is the role of account payable specialist? That kind of questions will be coming. So from here, because today we are creating supplier, but from tomorrow when we will start supply invoice, just check out roles and their responsibilities. Okay, so create supplier. I am logged in through Teresa. Teresa is finance admin. Okay, one more thing. Before creating supplier, so we need two things: supplier category and supplier group. So what we can do, create supplier category first. Supplier, okay. Instead of create supplier categories, maintain supplier category, the new task. Why it is so? Because after a workday update, this option has been changed. Initially it was create supplier categories, now maintain supplier categories. Click on maintain supplier categories, add one more: demo IT services. A new category I have added: demo IT services. What I did, I searched out for maintain supplier categories and added a new supplier category, which is demo IT services. Just look out at the right side, it will show how many times this category has been used. So this is the newly built. I have not used in any supplier. At the time of supplier creation, it will be used. So zero count. Automobiles is being used in one. This service is being used in at one supplier. Now, similar to
Just under
maintain
supplier category, we can add supplier or supplier category and supplier will be same.
no, no, supplier is different. We are just putting a
So,
supplier category now.
so after that we'll create supplier or
Yes,
vendor.
right. So first we are defining under which category they'll be lie. After that we'll create that. Similar to supplier categories, we have an option to create supplier groups as well. As I said, what I can do, location, uh, mm, country India. Similar we can do for USA. So we have added two more groups. If you remember, at that time we were able to see only these three. Now I have added two more groups. So supplier category, I have added supplier groups. I have added. Coming to the difference between these supplier category and supplier groups, the main difference is when we create a supplier, uh, supplier category is your mandatory part. Every time supplier category has to be chosen, but supplier group is optional, we can leave this blank. Second, we can have only one supplier category on supplier, but supplier groups can be multiple. These two we have same. Coming to search, these both fields are available at the time of searching for a supplier. When we do find suppliers, we can filter out based on category and we can filter out based on supplier groups as well. Uh, for reporting, so report again, whenever management asks for a report, those reports can be created on both, even custom reports. If they ask or we need to create, that report can be created on both supplier group and supplier categories. This filter will be available. Um, Supplier categories always will be present in your APR, account posting rules. Supplier group I need to check, but supplier categories will always be present in your account posting rule. When we create a dimension, we can create dimension based out on supplier category. But supplier group, most probably supplier group, we cannot create a account posting rule on that. It is not present in the dimension of APR. Okay, now starting creation of supplier. Demo supplier is given a demo name. No need to fill. If that we need some kind of number, DUNS might be being used for supplier perspective, but I don't know. Anyone has idea why we need this? Is it similar kind of unique number a supplier or that person should have, like GST and something we have here in India? Supplier category, the one I have added. Whenever once I'll click OK, the count which was 0, it will become 1 for this supplier category.
It's not a mandatory field, no? Duns supplier, Duns number.
No, it's not mandatory. I was just asking if someone has idea what it is.
Uh,
I created two new groups and you can see both are coming here. So I'll put country India. Might be so we can put even uh let's say A2L, not only one from here. We have provided two supplier groups, A2L and okay, country USA. Now payment term with this supplier, it is optional. Even we can put or even we can have this payment at the time of supplier invoice. We are not doing this like this will be needed at the time of invoice creation. But what it is, so payment term of the business of the client with the supplier. So immediate payment has to be done immediately to the supplier. Net 10. So irrespective when payment is being done in 2 days, immediately or 3 days, 10% will be off for the client. Supplier will provide net 10% discount to the client. Net 30. So 30% discount will always be provided to the client by the supplier. Coming to the first one, what this mean? If payment is being done within 10 days, so client is paying money within 10 days, then 2% discount will be given to the client. Okay. If
These all we can
payment is,
customize, right, as per the client
yes,
requirement.
we can customize this. Even we will create this at the time of supply invoice creation. First, we will create a payment term. Okay. Now, payment type. This is just for default. If we will choose any and we do not choose any payment term or we do not override in the invoice, then the default one will be applicable. Otherwise, we can override and create a new payment term in invoice or at the time of invoice creation. But let's say this is our default payment term. Now, what type of payment? So, in which way the payment can be done? Let's say supplier has said, I take only EFT, check, and cash. Only three are the three payment type I accept. So this is the payment type. In how many ways the supplier will accept the payment? Will that supplier accept credit card, debit card, direct deposit, or not? So these are payment type. At the time of invoice creation, we can choose only from these options. So we cannot say right here we are providing cash, and at the time of invoice creation we will put direct deposit. No, direct
So
deposit you will not see, because this payment type we have already defined, and this is not the default. This is the final payment type. Only one of these can be acceptable.
that is also customized, no? We can customize, create that.
These are already created.
So suppose is an import, supplier is out of country from different country. We are importing product
Mhm.
is under LC or bank guarantee. Then
But how you will get the payment? Through wire?
yeah, at last it will be wire.
So that what I am saying. This is your payment type at the time of whenever we create a supplier.
Hmm.
Through the mutual understanding, even supplier will say, I do not accept money through wire, I do not accept money through credit card, I accept money in cash or in check or in EFT. So it's up to supplier who will get the money in last. Supplier, so he will say, I will accept money only in two ways, cash and check. I do not accept any third type of the payment. So you go to a merchant, you ask, do you accept credit card? Then they say yes. Sometimes might be we are going to a general store and we will say, I want to pay through credit card, and he will say, I don't accept the credit card. So this is the payment type that last vendor will accept.
No, that I got, Akash. My question is how we can select
Please go ahead.
how we can select as a wire. But for reporting purpose, if I want to know whether it was under LC payment and how many days deferred LC was there, 80 days, 100 days, 120 days. So where that note will be and how to generate that report.
So are you asking for payment term like 80 days, or that
Yeah,
can be paid after 80 days or something? Is actually I'm not getting your point.
supplier is giving us a credit for 80 days and the payment after
Okay,
80
credit
days
note.
for 90 days it will be
Right.
under LC, letter of credit. So if
Okay.
management asks for a report later on, so how many suppliers are accepting letter of credit? So how to generate that or report? We have to mention somewhere in the invoice, right?
So it will be at the time of invoice, you will create just an invoice. Payment will not be done. Second, you will define a payment term. What is the payment term for that particular invoice? Might be we can say there's a delay of 30 days or 40 days. That kind of payment term we will associate to that supplier invoice. We have created invoice, but we have not done any payment. So that will be visible on the invoice itself, whether it is paid or not. At that time, we'll have this idea and reports will be created on supplier invoice. Right now, we are just providing the terms agreement between the supplier and a client. But we will do this on supplier invoice. Is it clear?
Okay.
Okay. Right now, we are just providing the terms. Like what kind of term is there? This is just a default one. But we have some specific term for the specific invoice, we can override. Right here, we are providing just the payment type that will accept. Only one of these will be acceptable. And now we can define the default one as well. So let's say direct deposit is the default one. So it will be coming by default at the time of invoice creation, but we can override the value of direct deposit. However, available values for override are only these. We can remove the direct deposit, but the value which are available for the override, a wire, EFT, check, and cash. We can choose only one from these. That's the condition. We have defined all payment type, whatever is available, all payment types we have defined for this supplier. Supplier do not accept any other. Among these, which is the preferred type for that supplier is direct deposit. Supplier said direct deposit is the preferred one. Even then, if you don't want to do direct deposit, you can do one of these five. So only these five I can accept. Direct deposit is my preferred. If not, you can choose any other among these five. So that kind of condition. Currencies. So that supplier, which currency that supplier will accept. What we can do, supplier will say, I can accept any currency. I can take in INR, I can take in USD. I'm okay. So what we can do, accept all currencies. If not, supplier will say, I just want to do this transaction in a specific currency. I don't accept any. So we have provided the only one currency. Now, if you are going to create a transaction and at that time that transaction is in multi-currency or that any other currency is being used, it will throw a error because USD is sorry, because that currency is not acceptable by this supplier. Supplier do not accept other currency apart from the USD. So did you understand why we even configure the currencies? We configure these currencies over the supplier so that obviously it is again in the terms and the conditions with in between supplier and client that this so any payment for any invoice will be acceptable only in USD or only in INR, or supplier will say you can pay out in any currency, I'll accept all currencies. Okay, that kind of condition or will be in the agreement. Now, as I said, I have provided accept all currencies. Supplier will accept all currency. But which one is the preferred one? Again, similar thing. Which one is the preferred one? So I'll say supplier is accepting all currencies, but the default currency is USD. So default currency will be coming there, but it can be override with any currency. Even the transaction can be done in any currency. But preferred one is the USD. Any question guys on this screen related to any field of supplier? Anyone? Is it clear? Okay, I hit okay. So now other fields related to the supplier. These we have already filled. Customer account number, nothing, we don't need to put this. Coming to the contact information. What address does that supplier has? What is the phone number? What is email? That kind of data we have to fill. Let's say I'll provide a address number. This address number is effective. Even we can provide this like from which date the address is effective. I'll say street one. Uh, uh, something random address I have added. if we are providing, we have to define this is the primary address or the secondary address. If I'll add one more, then it will give me option. I can swap the primary option. So might be this is my secondary address and I can add one more and that is my primary address. But in Workday, on any object, wherever we are putting the address, we have to define this is the primary, and similar for the phone numbers as well. Now, for what purpose I'll use this for billing? Can I use this address for billing purpose? Yes, I can use for share shipping. So we can also define usage. So for which use we are defining this address? Is it for storage? It's only street address. Either we are just providing for billing but not for the shipping. Only we will bill for this address but we will not ship anything. Or we can do the both. So that kind of usage also we can define. So whenever we purchase anything from the online store, it asks where it has to be delivered, and which sometimes it also asks, is this the same your billing address? Okay. Now I'll hit submit. Till here, when I click OK, that was just a task, just a domain task. But now submit button is coming, so it will hit a business process, and the business process is supplier event. Okay, what error is coming? All electronic payment type accepted for supplier must be assigned in active settlement bank account. So coming, we have not provided any settlement bank account. What we have done, we have defined cash, check, direct deposit, EFT and wire. But we have not defined the bank account for the supplier. So error is coming. We have to define even the bank account for this supplier. Otherwise, obviously, we have provided the payment terms, so it will not let us create that supply because there is no bank account. Okay, so create a bank account, demo bank account, account type, let's say checking. Current, it is a current account, not savings or checking account. I'm just taking these details from activity book. Bank of America we have provided, and the account number. So we have provided account number. Now I'll hit submit again. If any other mandatory field I have missed, I'll get error, but not. So creation of supplier has been initiated. That business process is initiated now and it is waiting for the event. And the event is approval by supplier administrator. Now you see initiated by Teresa. So we have hit a business process, which is a supplier event. It is asking that at the time of supplier creation, it has to be approved by a supplier administrator. And who is the supplier administrator? Logan McNeil or Eva. Any one of these two can approve this transaction. So let's say I'll stop proxy because Logan McNeil is my default user for this. So what I do, I'll stop proxy. Coming to inbox, some action item is waiting. And here I can say supplier demo IT supplier submitted by Teresa. This is waiting for a approval on Logan McNeil. So Logan McNeil has approved this. Now, who is the controller? Noah Pierce. After approval of Logan McNeil, it went to approval for controller. This is the business process. It is going according to the business process, and approval has to be done by Noah Pierce because he is the controller, and the next step of supply event is approval from this Noah Pierce. Before going that, what I can do, I can even show you the business process. BP supplier event default definition. First is a condition is there and approval is from supplier administrator. What this condition says, condition is there is no we directly initiated the supplier creation not from any request. A supplier create from supplier request. Okay, so not equal to yes. We have not created supplier through any request. There was no request. This is just a condition, if else condition. And this condition is, let's say, if supply there was some supplier request, then it should go to there should not be any supplier request. And this condition met at that time we created a supplier, and when this condition meet, it went to a approval of supplier administrator. If this was false, then it got skipped and it will went to this third one. But this was true, then it went to a supplier administrator. Now the next one is condition is no current assignee was initiator or prior approver, not from supplier request. So one condition is this one true, and second condition is the current assignee, that Noah Pierce, who is the controller, that was he was not the prior approver. So he did not initiate this. Teresa initiated this request. Then who approved this first? Logan McNeil. Now, who is controller? Noah Pierce. So Noah Pierce is not an initiator, not a prior approver. That's why it came to a Noah Pierce. If let's say controller would be Teresa itself, Teresa herself would be a controller, then only after the second step approval B, the business process could got complete. It will be complete. Now let's say I'll accept or I'll approve this business process through Noah Pierce. Coming to security profile, from the name using related action, I came to security profile, started proxy. So two items are there in inbox, and approval of supply is coming here. What I do, I'll approve this, and you can see the icon process successfully completed. That means supplier has been created within Workday. Now we can see the supplier and the process is successfully completed. It is not in progress. So it is nowhere waiting for any approval or it is not waiting on anyone. Even we can see the complete process itself. So this business process is completed now. What I do, I'll stop proxy and search for supplier internet now. Find supplier. About supplier category demo, IT services we created in this. Hit OK. We have one supplier right here. Click on magnifying glass for complete details, and you can see the details we have provided. All details are here. So we have an active supplier now, and we can create invoice. We can purchase item through this supplier. Is it clear, guys? Any question from this?
The client will give us the details to create supplier and all.
Yeah, every detail we will get. So supplier will provide their detail, bank account, contact information, payment terms, every any condition if any condition is there. So everything will be coming from supplier to client, and client will give to that configuration person, that functional person, that this has to be set up. Okay, it's like not the client, but you are a face of client, so you will be in touch with the supplier. When you will get higher, that means you also can communicate with the supplier directly because you are the that person who is as like supposed to be handling or managing the entire supplier management. So what is your uh, work, what are your responsibilities? It's okay, you will be configuring everything in Workday, but you are face also for that management, and you will contact that this is my supplier for furniture. So you will contact that supplier, you will ask what are your bank details, what are your so provide your address, shipping and billing address, and what payment you accept, what currency you trade in. So that kind of details you will ask. Again, it depends who client has uh, you know uh, m- made as a point of contact or a contact person from their side for the supplier. So they, because if the work is same, you are doing the same thing in Workday, client can ask you that you will contact supplier and will get all these details, because obviously when you get hired, you are a part of that company and you are a face for that. So even you can get these details, you can directly call out and you can contact the suppliers. Okay, any question, guys? So
The client will
tomorrow,
give us the business process and we'll set up all the things.
right? They just provide idea like so the conditions they will provide for
Yeah,
business process.
conditions.
That's correct. So to whom it should go for approval, they'll let you know. Let's say if amount is greater than not amount, sorry, not the invoice, but coming to the supplier. If let's say country is India, then it should go for approval to X percent. If country is USA, then it should go for Y% for approval. That kind of conditions for business process, that flow client will decide. Okay. So either it should go let's say right here we see controller was there, your supplier administrator was there. So that will be present. Like if it should go to the finance administrator, it should go to supply administrator. A controller should be approving this. All these conditions will be provided at the time of configuration.
So this finance administrator controller, this will be group or is it individual?
This is a user-based security group.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a security group, user-based security group, which we assign to a worker,
Yeah, yeah, worker.
finance admin.
Multiple
And
worker can be under one group, right?
right, that's true. Okay,
So whenever we
anything
assign
else?
roles, it will be under group.
Whenever we assign role, so user-based security group we assign to a user. Now role-based security groups are different. So if we are assigning a role to a worker, at that time we are providing a role-based security groups like HR partner,
Yeah, yeah,
like
got it.
manager. That is role-based security group. But most of the time, wherever you will see administrator word, so admin word is aligned with the user-based security groups.
Okay.
That will always be with some user. Yeah, it can be assigned to multiple users. That's true. But it will align to a user, not to the position or any role. A role-based security group will be given to a position, and based out that position, role would be there. So manager is the role, and that is aligned with a manager position. So if let's say a work, the current worker uh, who is the manager, he leaves or new manager comes, even at that time, that role-based security group will be there, and by default, when the new person gets hired on the same position, he will have similar access. He will have all those securities related to that role. But all user-based security group, if let's say there is any user-based security group aligned to that worker and he is leaving, that means new person is coming, there's no security group, user-based security group is defined. We have to again assign user-based security group to that new worker. But role-based security group by default automatically will get assigned to that new worker when he is hired on that position. Okay, so tomorrow we'll create item spend category, and then we will start doing the transaction using supplier invoices. Guys, please wrap your activities as soon as you can, because we are going to start operational transactions now. Okay, have a good day, guys. Bye. Let's connect tomorrow.
Bye, Akash.